have no pity at all for any fucking soldiers. U.S. military? Boo fucking who? I hope you get PTSD. I hope you get PTSD. And I hope you get no health insurance when you get back into fucking America.
It is communists who are very, very upset about it. And partly because it brings people together, it forms communal bonds, and it is a tie to the roots of your moral foundation that they need to destroy.
Absolutely. And so those communists, though, I would agree with that.
Oh, yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. The communists then go and pressure the corporations, right? You're offending people. You know, you can't say happy holidays. That's what you have to say, right? It's all these pressure points. But yeah, it does go back to that. It's a great point.
Balls. It seems like politics has developed schizophrenia. This shit has gone off the rails. It's done. I don't know what's going on here. So I was looking at this article. I saw this on the feed, you know. Time alone heightens threat alert in teenagers, even when connecting online. Basically, the core link is about loneliness, mental health conditions, and just the fact that, you know, when you're not exposed to a lot of people, you're going to be anxious about other people. That, you know, that kind of makes intuitive sense. You know, we see it in the studies, we see it in the data. And also just, you can kind of guess that. Like, come on, if you're not talking to people, then you're going to be more suspicious of the people that you do talk to, or don't talk to, rather. You know, either way on that, it works. And I feel like this shit is manifesting itself in politics. I feel like it's pretty obvious to anyone who has, you know, been engaged at all in politics over recent years. This shit it's gotten kind of crazy. First thing I'm going to go over is that the way that people talk about like politics, or, you know, what they're like campaigning for, what they talk about to try to like rally the, you know, people, their supporters and stuff like that, it's all based on like persecution. I don't know if you guys have noticed this. I'm sure you have, though. Like, and this is not like a left-right issue. Again, this is another thing this is across the damn political aisle, where literally everyone has to have some group of people that they attack or attribute the faults of society on. Like, they just like, oh, you know, like the Jews or whatever. You know, it's pretty common. So let me get to some of these examples. So we're gonna start off with the right. Oh man, the right goes crazy. They you know, there's a lot of different things and different little subsects of the right that have their own little like niche issues and stuff like that. The alt-right, they're worried about the Jews. They think the Jews are controlling everything and, you know, messing it all up. The default right, I feel like they just like hate the like LGBTQ, trans people. I feel like they have like a lot of issues with that type of stuff. I think in like the most recent election cycle, you know, Trump himself, I feel like he was going after immigrants. Bro was all over, you know, immigrants this, immigrants that. They're turning the immigrants trans. You know, they're coming across the border. They're raping you. They're doing evil shit. The Haitians are eating your dogs. There's like a huge amount of like a need to categorize a group of people to label as the enemy, or as like these guys are doing bad. You know, these are the evildoers. And then on like online spaces, you get like the SJW, like critical race theory, cultural Marxism, DEI, like that. You know the lot. Republicans were also big on this whole like banning books and shit like that, like where the idea is that there's like some knowledge or information, or, you know, something in this book, maybe it's not knowledge, maybe it's misknowledge according to them, and so it needs to not be in schools, or it needs to not be like accessible to a lot of people to try to like censor the information. But it kind of, I feel like it falls under the same sort of category of like feeling like there is an evil within something that needs to be removed or excised or punished, or something along those lines. This is the woke content detector's curated list of games. So this is like a whole fucking spreadsheet where MS went through all of the games to figure out if they're woke or not. Like, someone spent the time doing this, like, and you know, maybe you really don't want to see like trans people in your games. Like, I'm not gonna say I understand, but I'm not gonna say like you're an evil person for that necessarily, but it's just a little bit schizophrenic. This is kind of like I don't know if a normal sane person would do this to like not see the woke, you know? It's like, if you really cared about video games, it's like you're gonna be playing Hades, bro. You're gonna be playing Bloons Tower Defense 6. These are not games that you skip because they're woke. If you're a real gamer, you play these fucking games, because these are heaters, in my opinion. Undertale. You can't play Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 or 3. I guess these are the new ones. Maybe the old ones you can't. Thank God I can still play Dark Souls. Oh my God, I almost had to change things up. CS2, you can't play Counter-Strike? Contains overtly pro-DEI messaging. Features multiple female agent skins, including a female Navy SEAL and a female SWAT officers. Vipa is more muscular than most male operators. This game's DEI because there are female characters. That's crazy. That's crazy. I'm just trying to demonstrate the idea here. I'm building the case that people will have like some obsession within their own like sub community or group with like they'll have this community and they'll feel the need to like defend it or something like that, and then they'll build up this idea of an enemy that is trying to destroy their community or what they love. The wokies are ruining gaming. The immigrants are ruining America. You know, that's the idea I'm trying to build up here. Okay, now we're gonna be talking about the left. I feel like the left does the exact same thing, but differently. They don't really categorize like groups of people as evil, but they have like a moral tilt where it's like based off of some moral judgment, they will like consider you evil or not evil. You know, for a lot. And I kind of feel like on the left they don't think of things in spectrums too often. Well, actually, they do a lot, but not in their moral judgment. Someone is either like with them or against them. You know, some of the classic ones, just like, you know, white supremacy, racism, homophobia, transphobia, you know, all that type of stuff. Like that's like just general bigotry. I feel like the left will see that type of stuff and like have a very, very strong reaction and sort of a persecution of these things. Now, to be clear, I think that these things for the most part are a bad thing. Like, I don't think that I don't think you should be transphobic. Personally, I just don't think it's worth the time. It's also like a little bit immoral. However, it's also the case that most people who like, you know, if there's a guy who like doesn't like gay people, it's probably because this dude has never met like a gay person in their whole life, and the only thing they know about gay people is that Reagan told them that they have AIDS or something, and like that's their entire worldview and opinion about this thing. And now they like, if they share that, you know, dumb opinion, now like they could lose their job. I feel like when you try to cancel culture someone for something like you know, some bad bigotry that they're, you know, doing, I don't know if that necessarily makes your cause better. I don't know if it helps your case. If you get someone fired for having some extreme belief, is that person more likely to then convert to your belief or to then become more extreme? The level of retribution that the left tries to like get on people who are outside the moral perfection, it's extreme. Oh man. And then in recent years, as in recent year, like the last one, if you've been in like, you know, left-leaning spaces, or you have friends in left-leaning spaces, the Israel-Palestine conflict has caused a lot of emotional turmoil. I think that this is like one of the best examples of people on the left having an extremely like persecutory lens, where anything that is short of calling for the destruction of Israel is viewed as like genocidal. And it just casts this whole blanket on people and views that like, it's like anyone who is outside the exact expectation for what we think is good is evil. And that is, you know, that's extreme. And I think it's harmful to the movement itself. So to introduce this specific example that I'm about to bring up here, this guy, H3H3 Productions. You might be familiar with him. You probably are. You might even have strong opinions about him one way or the other. There is something very interesting going on with him, and I'm bringing him up as an example of to exemplify the persecution sort of idea. So he is someone who is, I think, Israeli, or his wife is Israeli, and he might just be Jewish. He has a very large platform, and he is someone who I think has been very openly critical of Israel and critical of the military campaign in Israel. However, he's someone who is viewed as like a Zionist, you know? This is someone who is considered like sort of evil by the left. Not all of the left, but, you know, extreme cases. Let me pull up this video.
It's unacceptable. It's disgusting. I've seen videos, you know, I saw videos of Palestinian dads holding his dead like 5-year-old daughter. I mean, and there was another one that like, As a father, it's even hard to talk about. This dude was holding his infant. It was like a year old. And he was like patting her on the back and saying like his final goodbye. I mean, he's holding her like she's alive, like he's just burping her or something. I didn't expect to get emotional about that, but like, I'm a new dad and that shit really fucks me up. And I hate to see it. It's not right. I think people in Israel that support the government and the government need to watch that shit. I think Israel shutting off water, power, and food to Gaza is insane. It doesn't even make sense. Like, what's the end goal there exactly?
So here's the reason I bring up that video. All I'm trying to demonstrate with that is just to show you that this is someone who is empathetic. This is someone who cares strongly about the plight of the Palestinian people. It's obvious by the video itself. It's clear that this is someone who doesn't support genocide. This is someone who doesn't support, like, you know, massacring people in large numbers. It just seems clear just by watching the video. Like, you can, if you have a human sense within yourself, then I feel like you can pick that up, you know? But here, we got this is the H3 hate subreddit. H3 snark. This is just a subreddit for hating him. So is Ethan finally admitting to being a Zionist? And so this is him making a tweet where he says, because I'm a Zionist, get this out of here. Because I'm a Zionist, what does this even mean? To those who use the word as an insult, it simply means anyone who believes Israel has the right to continue to exist. I think he says some other stuff, but, you know, for the most part, he's just saying that being a Zionist itself is not necessarily like an evil stance, which, you know, personally, I agree with. Even if you think that there is like a genocide going on, you can still believe that Israel has the right to exist. Like, I don't think that it would be good to destroy Israel. If you did that, it would probably be like a different type of genocide of the Jews in the region, different type of ethnic cleansing. And then you get pretty extreme there. So this is pretty reasonable. Does he know he doesn't have to reply to everything? He can just ignore things for once? No, narcissists don't understand that. Whatever criticism I have voiced for Israel, nothing will ever be enough. Damn, he's right. A bland condemnation of Benjamin Netanyahu before going on a 30-minute tangent about how the phrase Free Palestine being used by Twitter users is anti-Semitic and how the IDF was being unfairly portrayed by Al Jazeera, before ceasing speech on the topic entirely until he can criticize a conscientious objector of genocide is probably the most he or anyone frankly could have done. The bar is simply too high. So this is the same, this exact sentence right here. Like, you know, whatever criticism I have voiced for Israel, nothing will ever be enough. A condemnation of the actions in Israel is not considered sufficiently morally pure for leftists. This is something that is viewed as like, oh, he's tacitly endorsing the genocide because he won't criticize it exclusively. I don't know. That just seems kind of like absurd. Getting mad at people calling you a Zionist while simultaneously saying you support the people of Palestine? Get the fuck out of here. This shit pisses me off so bad because we all know he's a Zionist. Just stop being a coward and say it with your whole chest. Hassan was so right. He's on some all lives matter shit, and it's 1,000 times worse than keeping his mouth shut. Just you know what I'm saying? Like, the attachment to the word Zionist, people on like the far left here, or at least in this hate subreddit, they hear the word Zionist and it's just like an immediate trigger for like, this person is bad. Like, they hear it and it just, you know, like it locked in, like hatred detected, and like they just can't contain themselves. Like, they don't accept a support for the Palestinian people if it also includes a support for Zionist people, because they don't want, you know, people to be happy. They don't want, you know, peace or anything like that. What they want is like to hate this group of people. It feels like it's almost more important to them. You can be pro-Palestinian and Zionist. These are not mutually exclusive. You can support Israel's right to exist and you can support Palestine's right to exist. These two things can both happen. Just because Israel exists doesn't mean that, like, that doesn't require the genocide of Palestinian people. So check this out. This article, I just found this one when I was trying to search up stuff for this video. I was mostly looking for, like, you know, let me get some like hate threads, some spiteful folks on Twitter, you know, the good stuff. I don't really, you know, articles, I sleep, whatever. But we're here because it was interesting. It wasn't interesting. I didn't read it. Look at the title and look at the header, though. If you support Israel in the middle of a genocide, you're an awful person. First of all, this is a vague claim or a vague descriptor. I can't tell what they're saying. I'm not gonna make judgments, but I don't need to because I can look at the header right here. Look how dumb this shit is. Let's cut to the chase. If you are fretting about anti-Semitism and the fears and insecurities of Jewish students in the middle of a genocide, you're an awful human being. Break it down piece by piece. If you're fretting about anti-Semitism, so if you're worried about anti-Semitism in general, and the fears and insecurities of Jewish students, if you're worried about anti-Semitism or people afraid of anti-Semitism during a genocide, you're an awful human being. So because there is a quote-unquote genocide, I'm not going to argue whether or not there is or isn't in this video. It's not what I'm getting at. This is saying that just because there is some military action going on in Israel, Gaza, that they are classifying as a genocide, that you are not allowed to worry, not even think about anti-Semitism or be concerned about it without being a horrible human being or an awful human being. Sorry, don't want to put words in their mouth. Just being anxious about people potentially, attacking or targeting Jewish people or, being mistrusting of Jewish people. If you're even concerned about that, you're awful. It is an absurd focus on such a specific thing where it's like, you must align with the Palestinian cause exactly. You can't stray from it at all. You have to be in full support of the Palestinian cause. And you're also not even allowed to acknowledge that anti-Semitism exists. If you even talk about it, you're awful. And you have abandoned the righteousness that the left is defining for you. Oh yeah. Y'all already know where we're going with this one. This is H3 from the last clip, his show, and then he has Hassan on. If you don't know Hassan, by some miracle, he is the #1 streamer / political content creator on the left. He is the representative for, I guess, people on my side of the political aisle. This is him.
Palestinians, and this is going to sound very radical and possibly very violent, but this is a matter of law, and maybe even if you agree with this, a matter of morality. Palestinians have the legal ground to violently seize back their own homes from the settlers. This is a reality, and that is precisely the reason why they have to exist under endless occupation in the West Bank.
You know what? And that's why I say, if it was settlers, that would be a lot more understandable. Yeah. But let's not obfuscate, okay? I understand what you're saying. But this dude just called babies militants.
No, I understand. And there are baby settlers as well. But there are baby settlers as well. There are babies in the settlements.
But the babies that killed were not.
I know.
Okay, so
now that we established that. Yeah. No, hold on. Now that we established that.
So, if violent action is justified against settlers, and then in the next breath you say, there are settlers that are babies, what the fuck are you saying? Are you saying that people be morally justified in executing babies, committing violent acts against babies for stealing their land? The babies didn't do it. Maybe the dad did, but that doesn't justify fucking killing the baby or violence against a baby. That's just insane. Like, his hatred is so extreme that this group of people, violent actions are justified against them, and they're even justified against their children, even the fucking babies. Just in case you're not convinced that Hassan is our guy, quote unquote. Look at this. Top streamers who covered the US election on election day. Conservative. This is fucking Steven Crowder. Conservative. Then boom, #3, Hassan. This is on the election day. He had 300K viewers. This is our guy on the left. And then coming down, I don't know, BPD podcast. Charlie Kirk, right. Benny Johnson, I don't know. Zach Rohr, right. Charlie Kirk, right. Tucker Carlson, right. Tim Cass, right. Oh man, we're so fucking cooked. And then so the next point I want to cover on is that political commentators across the whole spectrum, potentially because they are online and they're subject to a lot of harassment / negative engagement, they're fucking paranoid. They're like schizophrenic. The amount of times that Tim Pool has predicted that there will become civil war is crazy. This MF is convinced that the country is on teetering ends every second of the day. He thinks that some group of evil immigrants or whatever is gonna come and destroy the country and end democracy, or it's civil war time. The pro-Trump commentator Tim Pool has invoked civil war dozens of times on X, where he has more than 2 million followers. Marjorie Taylor Greene prefers calling for a national divorce. Trump increasingly refers to the enemies within. It's not just rhetoric. A Reuters investigation identified more than 200 cases of political violence between January 6, 2021 and August of last year, and noted that America is grappling with the biggest and most sustained increase in political violence since the 1970s. I don't know what was going on in the 1970s. That's a different era. That's a different time. They had different stuff going on. I don't know. But today is today, and we got the internet. So I'm choosing to blame the internet. I'm blaming social media. I'm blaming all this fucking crazy shit. Like, you know who blew up on the internet? You know who came around on here? Motherfucking Alex Jones, the king schizo, the #1. This guy is, you. If you know Alex Jones, you know he's fucking crazy. He's like the demons are in his walls. Yeah, he didn't believe that the Sandy Hook Elementary School massacre was real.
Oh, they killed innocent children, and I said, excuse me, I said, abortion, vaccines, and poisoning food and water. These people are Satan.
Yeah, why did Hitler blow up the Reichstag? To get control. Why did government stage these things? To get our guns. I mean, why can't people get that through their head?
Pizzagate? Oh my god, dude. Pizzagate is another, that's a crazy one.
It's a message to Hillary.
It's Alex Jones. You can run on.
When I think about all the children Hillary Clinton has personally murdered and chopped up and raped, I have zero fear standing up against her.
The, like, belief that everybody in politics who is your enemy is like a pedophile and is like doing some illegal, like, crazy scheme, it's wild. Also the classic fucking the frogs are gay. I don't know, that's he's turning them gay. So another symptom of politics developing schizophrenia is that politics is not based in fact anymore. This shit is, it's not. It's literally like people don't care about truth. They don't care about it even at all. Like people don't agree about the results of the last election. People don't agree whether or not the COVID vaccine does anything. Or people don't agree whether or not it's harmful or safe. People don't even agree whether or not COVID was safe or harmful. Like that, people just don't care. Whether or not you have some opinion about any of those issues in either direction, you know that half the people in the world or country think the opposite of you. This last election, people didn't agree on how the economy was doing. People everywhere felt like it was doing poorly, but all possible objective metrics to evaluate the economy seemed to indicate that it was doing well. There was this huge disconnect in what people perceived to be real and what was real. This whole like lack of truth that goes on, or like figment of truth or impression of reality that we have built around ourselves and then view the world with, it's just like a hallucination of facts. Like there's not even like a moral framework to it. People will be like on like the right will have some like huge like obsessive campaign about how like LGBTQ people are like grooming children and they're like pedophiles. Like that's like one of the huge like obsessions. But then I don't know, we put Matt Gaetz in the office. Like that, like obviously the right doesn't care about like predators, but they'll campaign on it. It's just about like building up this idea or this impression or this like pretend reality and then presenting it as true. That's all it is. I was thinking about a time when I was at the grocery store nearby. It was before the election, and there was a couple of women at like a little table with a big sign that said, you know, some political slogans because they were trying to like, you know, sway some voters. That shit said, no inflation, secure borders, and then it said cheaper housing. Like those are the three things that they were trying to campaign on, and that those are the three things they were trying to campaign for Trump on. So I remember before I went into the store, I just the first thing that said no inflation. Like, come on, that's just fucking stupid. I was like, hey, do you really mean no inflation? I feel like that might actually be harmful for the economy. You might want to write less inflation. And they said, okay, we'll look into it. And then I went into the store, they looked into it, and I came out, and they crossed out no inflation, and they said low inflation. They actually changed it. I was like, that's kind of pog. That made me feel good. I'm like, they cared a little bit. But then when I was leaving the store, I didn't want to have like a full-on discussion with them, but you know, I'll like say a few things like before we head out. And I was like looking at the secure borders statement, and I was like, well, like, you know, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure there was a huge border bill that was like put to Congress, written by Republicans, but then was voted against by Republicans. And I think it was done specifically because Trump asked them to reject this border bill. And they said, I don't think so. I would know about that if I knew about that. And so, like, I'm assuming, you know, after I left, they might have Googled it, you know, like, and figured it out themselves. But maybe they also didn't Google it. I don't know. They did for the first thing. I left before they could go through the effort of doing the second thing. And then the third one is cheaper housing. It's like, okay, whether or not you think housing is going to go up or down under either candidate is it's kind of random. What I'm trying to convey with this little story is that it felt like they had 3 points that they felt like this is the stuff that makes me want to support Trump. These 3 things really, like, I feel it in my chest. Like, this will get people around me in my community to care about getting Trump in office. We want low inflation, secure borders, and cheaper housing. But then, like, if I on a deeper level, the low inflation, that was something we got. I think Biden, there was some sort of inflation bill. We got inflation lowered. I think U.S. did better than every other country in the world on inflation for the most part, post-COVID, because everyone was dealing with a lot of inflation. So we, policy-wise, were doing pretty good through the Democratic Party. Border bill, we were going to do something good about that. It was going to resolve a lot of the issues with the border, because it's not so much like illegal people sneaking in. It's just that people are, like, applying for asylum, and then you have to let them in because of legal stuff. But that was rejected by Republicans. And then cheaper housing, that one's a little bit more subjective. It's like, but, you know, almost everything on your list for your core points about why you support a candidate don't really indicate support for said candidate. Like, if you were to go piece by piece on all of your favorite things about Donald Trump that you're listing, none of them would really be supporting Donald Trump. You'd actually be like, never mind, I'm going to vote Kamala. So what is the basis for this strong, fervent feeling? You're coming out here in front of the grocery store on your weekend to come here and talk about why other people should vote for Trump, but the points that you have are not things that really indicate support for Trump. It's like you guys have felt it too, right? You guys have, in your own time, have sensed this level of hostility and disparity across the political aisles. I'm certain that everybody has felt it. You got, like, a relative or, like, a grandpa who's, you know, a Republican, and then you don't talk to anymore because he's off the rails talking about some crazy shit. Or maybe you're on the right and you're like, oh, the wokey leftist friends, they're really fucking my shit up. Or like, oh, my super pro-Palestine friend, you know, doesn't talk to me anymore or whatever. Where they're like, oh, you're too evil for me to talk to. Like, literally everyone I know has experienced some level of, like, oh, we don't talk to that person anymore because of XYZ, Trump, Biden, Hunter Biden's cock, you know? Like, there's going to be something in there as to why they feel that way. And like, the problem with this, the knock-on effects where it gets worse and worse, I think it's a little bit of a snowball situation. It's going to get exponential or whatever, is where when we feel like we have differences of opinion about, like, political stuff, one, we can't interface with each other because we don't agree on underlying facts. There's going to be some truth to the situation, and we won't be able to agree on that, so we won't be able to have a discussion on it. Now that we can't have a discussion on it, we feel like, oh, we're not going to be able to convince the other person, and the other person's not going to be able to convince us. So, one, maybe I just won't even have the discussion, so I'll stop talking to this person as a whole. Ooh, you know, now you're not talking to them. You're doing the exact thing that you probably shouldn't be doing. But we're building up a situation in society where it's the case that we are not talking to people who disagree with us, and we can't talk to people who disagree with us. Partially out of fear of being like, oh, they're going to hear what I have to say and then immediately assume that I'm an evil person. People are just, like, afraid to talk about it to some extent. And it just splits us apart, like, further and further. The differences in opinion are becoming wider, and then the level of moral attachment to that said opinions is becoming higher and higher. I'm tying it back into my little intro, my little opening here. Why is it the case that people feel so strongly about politics and all these crazy issues, and they feel so persecutory? They feel like there's, like, enemies within, you know? They feel like everyone around them is out to get them. Why is it the case that we're feeling this? It's because we're fucking lonely, dude. This online shit is messing with us. It's not good for us. Being alone longer, being online longer, it's building up our sense that those around us are out to get us. It builds up this paranoia, this anxiety. You just get this sense of, like, persecution. It's easier to scroll through Reddit or scroll through Twitter or Facebook or whatever than do anything else, you know? That's obviously going to put us in a situation where we're just going to trend towards loneliness and fill our time with political content and political nonsense, essentially. What is the solution to this? It's to, like, get off your phone and stop using that shit. Stop scrolling through Reddit. But can you do that? Can you? I can't fucking do it. I don't think you can do it either. I don't know why. Maybe it's just crazy levels of addiction. That's all I wanted to ramble about. That's all I wanted to talk about. We really just gotta be nicer to each other. Hopefully more empathetic to people of opposite political opinions. It's hard to do. We've been built in and ingrained within the system in which we ourselves feel stronger about the people who we disagree with, and we hate them more and more. So it just becomes harder and harder to feel like, oh, this person might have something of value to say. And it might even be the case that they don't have anything of value to say. But like, you have to believe that there could be something there. And I don't think we have that. I don't think we have the skill for that. I don't know how, but you know, be well, be good. See y'all in the next one.
I wear a blue sports coat and a Rolex because it's a symbol of middle class and humanity having prosperity and promoting human prosperity from a perspective of empowering humanity and stealing the image of a man in a sports jacket with a Rolex that is the satanic image. So I dress as a Satan